how do you know your clutch is slipping, and how do you know if your clutch is set up right? Well, the most essential thing is you have to have slack in this lever. It is essential. Otherwise, if you don't have slack, if this is pressed up tight against here, that means your clutch is slightly engaged. You don't want that. So you can use this knob to, you just break this knob loose, screw this in that way, and then once you have free play, this is perfect right here. You want a little bit of free play until you can feel the pressure on the clutch starting to pull. You want free play. Always have free play right there, all right? So if your clutch is still slipping with free play right there, that's when you know you need to replace your clutch. And this is a Barnett clutch kit. We have 3 of these plates, 2 of these. The springs over here. Well, these 3 are different than these 2. So what I like to do is open each one of these up and, mark each one with a blue marker, and then mark the bag with a blue marker. That way I can, if I forget or misplace one, I can still know which ones they are. Once you have them out, put them in a Ziploc bag and then just put some oil in them. You don't have to put a whole lot, and you can reuse the oil that's in here. You just want them to soak for, if you let them soak for 10 minutes and you make sure all the oil gets all over the surfaces and on the friction plates and everything, it should be good. But yeah, I'm just going to let this sit while I do the rest of the stuff. So I'm just going to put in maybe, like a half a cup and then kind of push it around in here. These plates are a little sharp, so it's sometimes good to double bag this so the oil doesn't leak out, but these aren't that bad. I'm going to be doing an oil change on this bike, and you don't have to do the oil or drop the oil when you're doing this. I don't think you could probably either just put it on its kickstand, and you can see the oil coming up right there. And so as long as you lean the bike enough over to where the oil goes to the other side of the engine, you don't have to worry. You just can't tip it over while you're working on it, But yeah, probably after I drop the oil, I'm just going to take off this and let it sit on the stand while it's draining more, and start working on the clutch. One thing I like to do while the oil is draining is to take off the oil fill cap. That way air can kind of get into the top and help it drain a little faster. There's a side panel up here that you have to unscrew. There's a screw up here, then there's a screw underneath the seat right there, and you can pull that out. And then there's one screw right here, one screw right here, one screw right here. There's another screw down here, and you just kind of, I guess if this frame wasn't here, a lot of this will kind of pop out a bit. You can go further up and take off the rest of these, but I physically can't right now just because this is in the way. So once that's out, pop it out from there. Just like that. And we have all that room. Alright, now we'll take out all these 8mm around here. Alright, once you get all the bolts out, then you're just going to pop this cover off. And sometimes some oil can come out, so just be careful about that. Just leave it like that, and there's the clutch. That's where we need to get to. We've got 3 10mm right here, and we'll break off. Now, keep in mind there's springs behind all three of these, so it's best to kind of loosen one a few turns and then loosen the next one a few turns and then loosen the next one a few turns, especially when you're putting in the new springs. That way things just don't get off camber or off centered, and the springs don't compress all at once, and this metal plate on the outside doesn't have more stress on one side than the other. Got these three loose. I'm not sure if it matters, but see that blue notch? You see that blue notch? Not sure if it matters, but I see that when I'm taking this off, so I just put it on like that. And there's our OEM clutch springs. Look like trash. And we're going to go a little deeper than this to replace the clutch itself. As you can see, it smells burnt. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Looks about right. So we're going to be taking off this thing. Now, this engine's pretty warm, so I'm expecting this to be hot. I might need some gloves for this. Now, I would like to point out on some bikes, this plate goes on a certain way. And usually this thing kind of shows you where it's supposed to go. So just to be safe, if you want to mark up here or mark this side, just to make sure you put this in the right way. I'm not 100% sure if this is going to go in one way or the other. I don't think it matters, but just to be safe, let's put a mark up here. Yeah, just leave this bearing there. Here's the clutch plates. That's what we need to get to. If you want, just grab this whole thing. Now, I just want to point out there's these two rings in the back here. I believe one of them's flat and then one of them's concave, kind of like this. And the concave end goes into the engine like that. But we're just leaving those right there. We're looking at 2018 Kawasaki Ninja OEM parts. So we're gonna go to clutch. That way we can just have a good visual reference of. Oh, I hate the way Kawasaki does these. So this is the front of the thing. So there's two up front and one in the back, and then these other two in the middle. So we have the three, so 1, 2, 3. So 1, 2, 3, and then the two in the middle. So we pull everything out, set it down. So we're gonna put in, this one is one of the thinner ones. Why? One of the 3 ones. Just to note, this has a curved edge and then a rough or a sharper edge on the other side, so the curved edge goes in. And then the two black ones we labeled go next. Not at the same time, but and I can see those two are wider, so this is making sense. I'm doing this right. like that. Line everything up. Everything is flush and good. Looks good. Now for the springs. Yeah, these Barnett ones just are a little stronger. It's gonna feel a lot better. You can see this gasket around here. This is still such a new bike. A lot of times you can just reuse these. You won't ever have an issue. Now still definitely check for oil leaks, because sometimes if these bikes are a little old, or sometimes maybe the gasket has a defect, or maybe a part of it comes off when you rip it off. But if you don't mess with anything and a bunch of oil or dirt doesn't get on it, then usually you can put everything back on as long as you don't rip any of the surfaces and snug it up, and you'll never have a leak. But definitely double check. And if this bike is really old, if you're doing this, let's say this is 2018 and you're doing this in 2030, might be best just to go ahead and order a new gasket. But yeah, I'm just going to reuse this gasket though, and I'm pretty sure I won't have any issues with that. Another thing, when we put this on, we got to make sure that this thing is about right there, and then when we fully close it, that this little thing notches into this. So we'll kind of leave it like that for now, and then pop it on. That might cause me a little trouble, but I'm not too worried about it. Yeah, so I kind of had that right there, pressed it on, and then it kind of notched in. I could feel it. So whenever I pull this, it should pull it out. But yeah, before you tighten up everything and put all your fairings back on, definitely put the screws in, hook your clutch up, and make sure it pulls and it feels like it's pulling the clutch back, But yeah, we're going to put in all our bolts around here. Now we have all of our bolts listed out. I made sure this is going to be the bottom corner one right there, and I can just kind of put them back right back how they were. Now remember, some of these have this thing on there, so just remember to put this on when you're putting back in. Do not have to be super tight. I just like to get them snug and then go another 1/8 of a turn, and that's it. So get them lightly snug and then another 1/8 of a turn, and that's good. And just generally try and do them in a star pattern, but it's not super vital. Then we're going to go up here to the clutch lever itself. It's always good, just kind of wipe this down a bit, put a little bit of grease in there just to kind of extend the life of this. Before we tighten this all back down, I'm going to extend this a bit. We just want to make sure it pulls. Yep, that feels good. Haven't fully adjusted it, but we can tell it's disengaging the clutch and it feels good. And you can kind of adjust this however you like, just make sure you have a bit of slack right here. Always have that little bit of slack, and then besides that, it's just kind of up to you how you like it. Taking it for a ride before you put all the fairings back on. But yeah, I'm just putting these bolts in, and then I'll put this side piece on and put the screw in up there, put the screw in up here, and then the side fairings are pretty straightforward. There's like a screw right here and a screw right here, and then a screw right here, and a pop pin in the front. I need to put the oil back in here, so I'll probably put in, I don't know how much this engine takes, so I'll probably put in about 2.5 quarts, get it level and make sure it's on the top thing. Before I start it, I'll start it, run it a bit, make sure it's level then, and then add some if I need to, and then go from there.